What's up, guys, and welcome back to episode 4 of Narwhal News. We're so excited to have you guys here. Narwhal News is your FRC community and robot updates podcast in less than 20 minutes. Thank you so much, and we're so excited to dive into the topics for today. We have a stacked roster. First, let's get started with a Week 1 regional overview with our strategy lead, James. I'm here with our strategy coordinator, James, to talk about the first 2 weeks of competition that will be coming up. Are there any, regionals on your radar?
Yeah, for sure. I think there's a lot. I mean, overall robotics, all regionals are very competitive this year, but I just wanted to pick a few. Obviously, this is not to exclude any other ones because there's just so many that I only had time to pick a few, but and this might have a little bias because the first one I'm going to talk about is Canadian Pacific. Because obviously we're going to that one. But there's a lot of good teams there. And in fact, it's not just teams from Canada, like obviously excluding us. There's some other teams from California and Idaho as well. So there's Taters, there's Funky Monkeys. And then also international teams like Raid Zero from Taiwan is really cool to see. And then from Hawaii you have Hawaiian Kids and also Crusaders, obviously, of course. And then, from within Canada there's Forge Robotics. There's also Forge Robotics, and there's a lot of other teams that are really good at that event.
Yeah,
as well.
CanPac is looking to be a really great regional. We'll also be vlogging that, so stay tuned for that.
I'm excited. And then I also wanted to talk a little bit about the other California regionals, because obviously those are always usually pretty stacked, I would say. So specifically, you might be thinking of Pinnacles Regional. Pinnacles is extremely stacked, especially because we saw Rembrandt's
is coming,
yeah. So Rembrandt's historically they've always gone to Port Hueneme week 1, but this year they decided to go to Pinnacles, and I won't blame them because they're gonna have a really good time there in terms of competition. There's Citrix Circus, there's Quicksilver, there's Blazing Bulldogs, and there's a bunch of other amazing teams that are also competing there. So yeah, that's something to look out for. And then the other California regional in SoCal is called Port Hueneme, obviously, and it also has really good teams this year, as it always does. Obviously, High Tide's there, but also surprisingly, Eagle Strike's there. Maybe they're from NorCal, but they're going to the SoCal event, which is very interesting. And you also see Millennium Falcons. We're very close to them, so it's going to be fun to see them compete as well. And also Super Nerds and Paradox, also both from San Diego. They're also going to Port Hueneme.
Don't forget Paradox 2102,
yeah,
our favorite alliance partner.
I love Paradox. And then there's also teams from Mexico. So Robotics Españoles is also going, and they're historically have also had a really good performance in their regionals. So that's really cool to think about.
Definitely, there can be some walk hards and toss-ups, especially at Hueneme. So we will be watching that very closely.
Yeah. And then the last one I kind of wanted to talk about is Northern Lights Regional. I would say this is also a really stacked event. There's just a lot of teams there that are just really good and have a good track record. So you have Wild Stang and the aforementioned Green Machine that I already talked about, but also teams like Nightcrawler from Minnesota and Husky Robotics. They were on Einstein's last year, and also Ninjineers. There's just so many teams there that are from all over that it's going to make the competition really competitive. So that's going to be interesting to watch for as well. Another thing I wanted to kind of mention about events in week 0 is kind of learning how the meta will be shaped. I already kind of mentioned that, but just like how robots will be designed and how a good robot looks, you can really learn that from these events, that even if you're not going to, you can still take those designs and implement them in your own robot. So for example, last year, unfortunately for us, at Hueneme Port, we kind of saw the wall bot as a defense bot in the subwoofer rise to its stardom.
Smiley Face of Doom.
Smiley Face of Doom. That became a national or international thing across FRC and Crescendo. A lot of people took inspiration from that. And then also, in 2023, you could see across the weeks, as people went on, there became this trend where people began creating ground intakes for cubes that would just kind of intake it and then spit it back out. And that was just a really efficient way to get L1s. No, not L1. Low level.
Yeah, the low cubes.
Low cubes. And then make links with them, and that was really effective as well. So those are just kind of some examples that I want to give.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us and previewing the Week 1 regionals and Week 0 events. I'm so excited to see how that first week of competition shapes out. And now I'm back with Justin, a member of our strategy department, to look at some mid-build season competition takeaways. Justin, what are your takeaways so far?
So I think one of the most important takeaways that we as a strategy department had from the mid-season build competition was being able to properly distribute the scoring locations among the different robots on your alliance. Now, a lot of kit bots were basically at the mid-season build competition, so we saw L1 get heavily inflated. And Cranberry Alarm, which is an R3D team, they were the only robot that could score beyond the tro. And we really saw the benefits of that because they could let their kitbot alliance partner take care of L1 while they could score L2 and not really clog up the tro as well. And also, the tro can really only hold, theoretically, it was kind of determined it would be 24, but in practice, because of the unpredictable nature of all the coral, they can bounce around or be in a weird orientation, the max that we could probably fit on there is probably 20, and we actually saw 18 from 1991. And then Swerve, once again, proves to be the dominant drivetrain type in this game because we saw 2 Swerve drives on kitbots, and compared to the tank drive kitbots, they were way more efficient. Their auto capabilities were better, their drive chain speed was better, and their alignment for L1 was a lot better, and 9991, which I mentioned earlier, was one of the 2 Swerve kitbots.
Yeah, I honestly think this year and with this year's game, especially with the auto RP, having a tank drive is going to be rough for a lot of teams.
I agree. I think if you're a high alliance and you just want to pick a robot, you should just pick Swerve Drive, even if you want them to just play defense. So I think this allowed Swerve kitbots, they could honestly solo the L1 level because they can just get such a higher volume of L1 cycles compared to tank drives. And then good human players, I think human players' roles have always kind of been somewhat underrated in FRC games. In this game, they're once again important because getting the coral into the robot, especially in Reefscape where cycle time is really dependent on optimization because you're not going full field.
Right, it's super short cycles right
Exactly.
there.
It's just right there between your station and your reef.
It's like a good 2 to 4 seconds, even 1 second will make a huge difference in the cycle count.
For sure. So good human players who can get the coral into the robot efficiently, in auto especially because of the inflated points, and teleop because in auto your robot's not going to come back if you drop the coral on the ground. In teleop you can. So just making sure the human player gets it in every time to ensure the fastest, and making sure you don't miss any cycles is really important. And then in endgame, there was only 1 shallow cage at the competition, but we did see 1 shallow climb from Kitbot, and that was as much as we really saw about that. However, looking forward, I think it will be important to coordinate with your alliance partners, which cage are you going to climb on, because the area is not really that big, so I think you could congest it pretty quick.
Yeah, I think alliances are definitely going to be smart about their climbs because especially if you have 3 deep cages and 3 robots climbing on all of them, and we'll definitely see that at some California regional finals or World District Championships. I think especially if the cages swing, that might be a potential hazard right there. So definitely smart planning by alliances in the south.
Yeah, don't hit your alliance partners' cages because then they're not going to be able to climb. And then defense, I know a lot of people were talking about defense as early as kickoff, honestly, and it was sparse in this competition, but we did see some glimpses of defense. There was a 3v3 match, and in the finals matches there were some defense being played, and as far as my knowledge, the defense being played was by tank drive, so the movement was kind of limited, but they were able to delay the cycles by blocking or staying in the general area of the coral station. So I think it definitely shows potential that a robot that has higher mobility and good driver practice could definitely be able to shake an alliance's offensive potential.
Yeah, I mean, not even robot defense, especially if you can just get to the other side, clog up one of those coral stations, you're already depleting an alliance of half their coral source.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, it'll be definitely interesting to see how it plays out. Thank you so much for joining us today, Justin. And now I'm back with another member of our strategy department, Abraham, to go over some Week 1 district events. Abraham, can you give us a quick rundown?
Yeah, so in Michigan, we have Week 1 Kettering University event. Some notable teams I'd like to mention are 5460 Strike Zone, Team 27 Rush, 910 Folly Freeze, 245 Atom Bots, 494 Martians. We have their sister team, More Martian 70. We have House of Cards 3534, There's also some notable ones such as Team 1, the Juggernauts, and this goes very deep. There's another one I wanted to highlight is 5641. This event is very deep, so I'm looking forward to watching this one. Another one in Michigan is Ferndale, which has 3538 Robo Jackets, 33 Killer Bees, 7760. 77669 The Crew, 1701 Robo Cubs, 3175 Night Vision. There's been very noble teams: Cybercats, Goon Squad, Hackbots, Dragons. It goes very deep as well. Gatorbots as well, 68 Trucktown Thunder. Michigan is looking very stacked this year for week ones. Along with that, we have Newmarket in Ontario, which has Inverse Paradox 1325, 4946 Alpha Dogs, 4476 Waffles, 4976 Revolt Robotics, 9098, one of the higher numbers, Firehawks, 5409 Chargers. Last year they had that unique trap-only bot that managed to rank them really high every single event. 1305 Ice Cube, 1285 The Biggest Birds. Once again, a very deep event. Moving on from this, we also have in the Mid-Atlantic, Hatsboro, we have 2539 Krypton Cougars, 2590 Nemesis, 1923 the Midnight Adventures, 341 Miss Daisy, 316 the Lunatex, 1403 Cougar Robotics, 2607 the Fighting Robo Vikings. 2 years ago made it to the Archimedes Division Finals. 1218 and 427 Lancelot, 321 Robo Lancers, those world champions, of course, and on and on and on. These are some really stacked week ones for districts. We have in PMW, we have Glacier Peak. Kicking it off, we have 2046 Bare Metal, defeating that Alliance 1 at Hopper last year. We have 1778 Chill Out, 1318. We have 2930 Sonic Squirrels, 360 The Revolution with their very insightful OA posts with their sideways elevator robot. And we have 2522 Royal Robotics, 3218 Panther Robotics, 9442 Miso Mechanics, 7461 Sushi Squad, and also continuing 4131 Iron Patriots, and 4089 Stealth Robotics. Moving on from that, ISR 2, also a very stacked event. We have Bumblebee 3339 winning all three of their events last year with Orbit, and we have 1574 Miscar, 2231 Onyxtronics, a very high first pick at Worlds, very good robot. 5614, I believe they won Impact finalists at Worlds, so looking forward to see them move on. And we have 3075 and 5990 as well. Moving on from that, we also have back to Michigan, Milford, also very stacked. 4362 CSPA Gem, 67 Hot Team, 1023 Bedford Express, making it to that division finals at Worlds along with their teammates. I believe it was 2468 and Dislocators, 6081, very good robot. Looking forward to seeing what they produce. 4779 Robo Sapiens, 3322 Eagle Evolution, 548 Robo Stings, 3641 the Flying Toasters, 3656 Dexter Dreadbots, 503 Frog Force, part of that Elite Hall of Fame teams, 4392 the Deceivers, 2834 the Bionic Blackhawks, and continuing from that, moving on to Texas, where the World Championship is held, we have the Waco District event, and this one also has a ton of good teams. 3005 Robo Chargers, with that very unique Side Climber plus a folding robot. We have 2468 Team Appreciate with that simplistic, low CG robot from last year, just a shooter, and could do everything. That's how they got to the division finals on Galileo. Then we have 6672 Fusion Core, also an amazing team. I think they made it to their division finals as well. And then we have 3310 of Blackhawk Robotics. won. I believe they won their division at Texas District Championships. Very good team. Won for a Robo Wranglers division finalists at Worlds. 63-77, one of the best teams to not make Worlds last year. Howdy Bots. 25-82, also made it to Einstein's. Panther Bots. You have 27-14 Barbecue, 28-81 the Lady Cans, 12-96 Full Metal Jackets, on and on and on. And then moving on to New England, which is very stacked this year for a week one. At Granite State, there's 63-28 Mechanical Advantage, winners of that Hopper. Winners of the Hopper division, yes. Made it to that 4th place spot on Einstein's. 34-67, win the wind up. One of the best teams to come out of New England last year, and their open alliance being very helpful to teams. We have 80-13, the division finalists on Hopper as well, Boston Lions, captaining an alliance forward to making it to division finals on the upper bracket. 17-68, Neshoba Robotics, amazing team. 28-77, Liger Bots. 10-58, PVC Pirates, making it to the Einsteins as well. 49-09 Bionics, one of the best robots on Hopper last year. 319 Big Bad Bob. 94-43 Aluminum Panthers. And continuing in New England, we have the Southern Main Event as well, which has 63-28's number neighbor, 63-29 the Bucks Rap. Making it to that division finalists with Highlander Robotics last year. 56-87 the Outliers as well. 33-14 coming from, I believe, First Mid-Atlantic Mechanical Mustangs, coming over to see what they can produce on the New England field. 131 Chaos, making the division finals as well with 148 Robo Wranglers. 166 Chop Shop, 45-64 Orange Chaos, 58 Riot Crew, 95 Grasshoppers, 17-29 Team Inconceivable. There's lots of teams for week 1 district events. Even 172 Northern Force, 190 who made it to Einstein last year as well. These week 1 district events are going to be very stacked.
Thank you so much for watching episode 4 of Narwhal News. We're so glad to have you here. As always, if you have any comments, questions, or suggestions, pop them down below in the comment box below. See you guys next week and keep on swimming.